My name's John. I've been living off-grid in the high desert of Arizona for a year and a half now. Over the next couple days, I'm going to show you around my homestead and tell you what it took for me to build this place. Bonnie's going to have babies anytime now. Make sure that you guys subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Buying oceanfront property in Arizona was one of the smartest moves I ever made. This is my house. Seriously, I live in the van. I've got pigs over here. This is my pallet pig pen. That's Bonnie. She's super pregnant. She's got a piglet, and that's her boyfriend there, Snoop Hogg. She's actually going to have piglets again at any time. That's my rooster, Nugget. He's super dominant, as you can tell. Magdalene hanging out in the shade, and there's Malleus getting his fill. When I moved out here to the high desert, I kind of figured, well, I'm going to need food, water, and shelter. So I built a shed. I can park under the awning there on the side in my house van. I harvest the rain that falls on that roof in this container and one on the other side. I've also built kind of a shed on this side, and I collect water for my geothermal greenhouse on this side. I'm able to store all my feed and hay, some tools, and straw over here in this shed. I run a tea business, and all my tools and food storage and whatnot are in that shed. I have an additional tank with a trailer if I ever need to haul water. And this is the garden inside my hoop house. So right now there's a lot of plastic in order to keep it from freezing because it's been down to the 20s. I've got rabbits over here, chickens over here. I've got compost back here. This is my geothermal greenhouse. It stays about 15 degrees warmer in here all winter, and I'm going to plant this pretty soon. I just want to put in one more layer of plastic. That's what the plastic is down there. And this is there's about a foot of manure sitting down there to plant in. I've got somewhere to rinse my dishes off and somewhere to shower. There's a propane heater in there, and I've got extra fuel if I need it. I've got a few dogs, and during the day while I work, I tie them in the corners of the property. There's one, and there's one up here by the gate, and I've got another one in the back corner there. I've got about a 9 kilowatt solar system. That's how I power everything on the homestead. And I just set up a new cell phone signal booster. That's a Sure Call. And my signal's better than it's ever been. This is the tank on the other side, and you can see my van that I live in there. I've got a little shack for when I cut down wood to store for the winter. And this is where I work. This is my office. I've got a computer set up and all the different items I need to pack and mail tea, the herbal tea blends that I've created, as well as corn flour. I have a wood burning stove in the corner here to keep it warm if necessary using wood. I also like to cook on it. That's a Coleman stove on top. I bake in here often. You know, there's just not a better way to eat really than making everything from scratch. One of the viewers sent in this book. This turns out to be the book my mother used to cook out of, and so I use that often to cook out of. I do I have some appliances and whatnot when I need them, an air fryer, a bread maker, crock pot, all those kind of things. And then I've got tools and whatnot over here, food storage, got a freezer going, and this is my solar system so far, which has done pretty good for me. I'm 50 miles from the nearest town. I'm in the middle of the high desert of Arizona, northeast, and I'm way off grid. And this is the book I was talking about. I was out here for over a year before I put this book out, and it was my viewers and followers, subscribers on YouTube that said, "Hey, put this book together. We really want, to read about your first year off grid. And that's what I did. This book right here was a #1 seller in multiple categories on Amazon, and still ranks really well. And a whole lot of people have bought this. I'm super grateful. It talks about everything I did. Right here, I'm digging the geothermal out there. I dug it with a $4 shovel. And you know, that took a while. I built my shed. I started a business. I got animals going, a geothermal, gardening. This is my blue tea with a lemon in it, and that's my red tea right there. And anyway, guys, I'm going to sign 2 of these books, and I'm going to send them to you guys. And all you have to do to win one of these books, comment below how you want me to sign it. You know, if it's to Bill and what you want me to say, tell me what it is, and we'll draw a winner a week from today. And whoever wins, I'll just have to have you email me an address, and I'll ship these to you. It has to be in the United States because it gets real expensive to ship outside of the US. But otherwise, yeah, comment below what you want me to sign it, how you want me to sign it, and I'll do that, and I'll ship it off to 2 winners. I just made nachos for lunch. This is, you know, beef, ground beef. There's black beans, chips, cheese, and salsa. This is the view from my bedroom. If you're interested in how I've been living off grid for the last 1.5 years, stay tuned, and you can hang out with me over the next couple days. The first night that I pulled out here onto my land, there was nothing, just land. And within a month, I had my shed set up so that I could store items and park my shed under a awning. And pretty quick, I had rain harvesting up. It wasn't long before I had that chicken coop going and a hoop house. And well, I guess we've come quite a ways since then. Helga. Good girl. When I first came out here, I thought it was brutally hot. The wind was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting that. But as I've gotten used to things, it's just really become quite an oasis. There's something to be said about owning your own land, having some space, not having neighbors right next door. I don't know. I definitely enjoy living off grid. It's morning time. I haven't drank coffee in a long time. I'm just gonna make a cup right now and see how it goes. I think we watched the sunset last night a little bit, and well, the sun's rising now. Dogs are running around getting their little morning break. I usually give them a bucket of water over here in the morning and feed them all, and then they've got about 20 or 30 foot lines, each of them, that are spaced out. So while I'm working in the shed, they can run around and play, and each one of the lines has a couple trees that provide shade and whatever. Gives them somewhere to hang out safely for now. And then you can see there's just a couple lines of loose barbed wire around the perimeter. Well, that's all gonna come down soon, and I'll have several, rows of lines. So a nice fence that'll keep, then the dogs will be able to run around without lines at all. The problem is if they run out, get lost, even just a couple days out there could be, bad for them without food and water. You can hear the exhaust from my diesel heater in there warming up the shed, and soon we're gonna have an exhaust that comes all the way up under this tank to keep this tank from freezing during the winter. That's because this is on the north side, and it gets a lot of shade. And normally I don't have a mountain of dishes like that, but I really deep cleaned the shed and the van yesterday, so I got to get those cleaned up today. When I cleaned out the wood burning stove yesterday, I threw the ash in here. It's good for the chickens to roll in. Something like diatomaceous earth, just the fine powder. Most of these systems are kind of automated, The chickens, they have a bucket. I fill it brimful. They can just poke their head in there and get some food, and then the water has 4 little dripper bowls, and they can go over there and get themselves some water. The rabbits are I think they're the only animal I don't have automated, so I have to come out and give them food and water every morning. The chickens, I do it about once a week. We can check on the hoop house right now. It just wasn't that cold last night, so looking pretty good in there, other than the few things that died when I originally touched them with plastic that one night. But I'm gonna go in there and clean it up a little bit. Malleus is always the first one to let you know. He says, I'm ready for more hay. You see? He says, feed me, dude. So we'll get them fed, and the pigs are ready to eat, I'm sure. Any day now, I would imagine that Bonnie's gonna have babies, and it is cold. As you can see in the corner, I have metal that lines that side and this side, and there's a heat lamp in the corner. So as soon as she does have piglets, I can just plug in that heat lamp for a few days. Helga, watch out. I can plug in that heat lamp for a few days, and then it'll keep the piglets perfectly warm until they just need a few days of, you know, about 98 degrees, I think. Sometimes we'll get an occasional stray dog through here, so I keep everything locked up like this, and that keeps animals out. And Helga, she'd probably break in there if she could. In fact, the lid is chewed because she used to be a stray dog, and that was her trying to get into the trying to get into the food. We'll get one more for. Hey guys, there you go, buddy. So we'll get a flake of hay. Let's see, I'll pull one more down and I'll just balance them. So I got one for the pigs. We'll go like this. You ready, buddy? All right, I just need to get... Whoop. All right. We got a flake here for the goats. There you go, buddy. And we got a flake for the pigs. Hey, cut it out. Helga, come here. You already ate yours. You got to share. Helga's just not very good at sharing yet, so usually she'll eat hers really fast. I don't think she was getting enough food at the last place she was at, but so she came over and was trying to eat the other food, and I'm sure she doesn't mean nothing by it, huh? She just thinks she needs to eat it all because she might not see any more tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. I kind of mentioned yesterday when I came out here, I was like, I need food, water, shelter. And so the shed was one of the first things that went up, something to kind of shelter the van a little bit. I live in the van. The awning there provides shade for the van, which keeps it about 10 degrees cooler. I've never once ran an air conditioning unit. There are about 2 months where it's, you know, you're kind of hot and sweaty toward the end of the night, but it always cools off so much that I'm comfortable. So, you know, and then I can collect rain from that system. There's about 330 gallons there, and the same on the other side. And then I'm standing in this shed here. This one was built later, and mostly with the purpose of sending water over to this geothermal greenhouse here. You can see I have a sunshade up there. That'll come down soon. I had one that went halfway over the pig pen and the goat pen for the summer. I pulled that down because, well, the snow would probably cause problems. So I'll get that other one pulled down soon. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of changes when you're kind of preparing for the winter. So these guys look like they're done, so I can let little Helga out again. And that way they all get a share, you know, a fair share of the food. I just set Stapes up in the corner there. He's got a tree over there that he's cleared out to hang out under. Not that he'll need a ton of shade today. It won't be very hot. And Incus knows we're headed over to his line, so he mostly hangs out under that tree. Here you go, buddy. Good boy. Now I just got to get Helga over here, and she's interested in the food, so we'll see how that goes. Helga! Good girl, come on. Come on, Helga. Come on, good girl. Come on. Good girl. I see you. There she is. Good girl. All right, everybody has food and water except for the rabbits, so we'll take care of that. And then I can get to work. Everybody's got food and water. And well, now I can get my butt to work. I already told you I came out here and I thought, I need some sort of an online business to support myself, and I wanted something to be like, hit near home. And I wanted to be able to bake and whatever, even if everything went down. And I can't really make white flour. It takes so much water to make all that wheat. But I can grow corn, and my very first attempt, I successfully grew quite a bit of sweet corn. I wasn't able to make it to harvest my first season, but it would have worked. And anyway, it was proof of concept, and I said I should sell sweet corn, corn flour. And that was one of my first products. And then I wanted to have my own beverages. So I created blue tea, which is butterfly pea flower, lavender, and lemon balm. Then I did red tea, green tea. They're all blends I created. And well, I have to market those somehow. So actually, walking around and making this video is part of my job, really. Just letting people know that I exist. And I'm going to pack a bunch of product and whatnot right now. And then I think I'm going to do a live, which is another part of my job. And today I don't have a ton of building or something like that I need to do, but I have other things that I need to do to stay afloat. Still a little bit dark in here, but this is where I work. I've got large quantities of each individual herb. I make blends, and they go into their own blend container. I grind down my own corn flour, and they all have a place. And I've got stickers, tags, packages, shipping stuff. I have a computer that runs off of the data signal, so I can print postage on my thermal printer and all those things. And this morning I went ahead and put together about 100 packages to go out. I have a large box here that's about 50 packages of tea, and I made one more here that I'll send out later. It's still early morning. I've done a whole lot of work. I've gotten a lot done. And now I can kind of slow down and think about, what things need to be done next on the homestead. I used to do live videos inside the shed here because I had a pretty good signal, and I would be packing tea and orders, and eventually the cell phone booster I had just wasn't cutting it. And yesterday we did a live and it went well. So what I want to do today, I think I'll start a live in there, another test, I guess. And then I'm going to come out here onto the the homestead where you can see everything. And I think I'll do that now, and I'll just see, how does the live work, and I'll just see, what kind of questions come in and whatnot. I talked to you guys about food, water, and shelter. Well, mostly water and shelter. But I also want to grow my own food. The first season I was here, I had not gardened my entire life, really, other than some basic stuff. And I wound up where the goats are now. I grew a garden out there. I had a lot of corn, and I grew just about everything you could imagine. People said you can't do it out there, but I grew melons. I had watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, corn, all kinds of salads, different gourds, winter squash, pumpkin, just almost everything you could think of. I tried and grew things, but it was difficult the first season because I hadn't been established here very long. Mice were coming in and getting it, and I wasn't able to trap them very well. Finally, I built a bucket trap that did really good, and then also getting cats. I have not had a mouse problem since. If you go to the geothermal playlist, I'll put a link in the top corner there, and you can see me dig this geothermal from the beginning to the end with a $4 shovel. Toward the end, I did get a slightly nicer shovel, but I dug down 6 feet. This is about 200 square feet. And the reason it doesn't look 6 feet deep is because then I've backfilled on top of it. There's about 2 feet of manure down there. And I'm going to, this previous season, I grew in buckets in here. I did grow in here one season, basically, during summer and whatnot, from spring on. And I did grow a lot of stuff in buckets, and it did pretty good. But now we're preparing it so that I can plant directly in the ground. I want to do 30-inch rows. I'm thinking, down just around the perimeter. all the way. This is about 200 square feet. I've got 200 linear feet of corrugated tubing that is under about 2 feet of manure, and it just winds back and forth and then comes back out. And in the top is a 4-inch inline fan. It pulls the hottest air down, cools it, and pumps it back in. That's during the summer, of course. The air that comes back in is much cooler, around 50 degrees or so. And what that does is balances things out so that it's about 15 degrees cooler in here all summer long. In order to do that, I have to open larger vents during the summer, but I've closed them off for the winter. And the system will actually, it'll continue to work all winter long. Running the system exactly the way it is now will actually continue to pull the hottest air out of the geo. It'll go down and it'll actually heat the air up, and it'll come out lower. And that will actually continue to keep the temperature in here about 15 degrees warmer throughout the season. This was my first idea when I came out here. I was like, I need to do this because I felt that it was an extreme environment out here. And it is. There's a lot of people that have trouble, but people can grow in a hoop house without heat for most of the year. And that's what I've done in the hoop house now. There's multiple layers of plastic in there to keep the things from freezing and whatnot. So I'm going to run that garden. I have a fall garden in there. We're going to run that and see how well that does. And then we're going to do that same process in here. So I'm going to put in another layer of protection in here, which will just be plastic, and I'll grow in here. And then there's also the buffer of the extra 15 degrees. So I'll be able to grow slightly different things in here potentially. We'll just see what happens. And we'll keep going from there. It's just another test, but the point is that I want to be able to grow as much of my food as possible, and hopefully I can get to a point where I don't need to buy food from anybody. And that brings us to the chickens, the rabbits, the goats, the pigs. I'm basically experimenting with these animals. You know, I might decide after a while, well, I'm not going to do rabbits anymore, or maybe I don't want to do chickens, or maybe I only want to do goats or pigs, you know. And so I'm trying all these things out, and I have of course there's mating pairs in all of these animals, so that, you know, the goats should eventually have a couple kids. And Bonnie's already had 4 piglets. I sold 3 of them, kept 1. That one should be ready in a few months to process. It'll be the first animal of my own that I've processed, and I'll put in the freezer that's in the shed now. And she's gonna have more anytime, and this litter she'll probably have several more than 4. And I'll make a decision, how much meat can I eat in a year, you know, and I'll keep that. And never in my life have I had that much meat, and I've had a pretty good career, you know, in the past. So I don't know, maybe there's some wealth that can be found in kind of living off the land. Anyhow, food, water, and shelter are the main things that I keep in mind as I'm running my homestead. And well, now I've got to get into the hoop house here and cut back some of the plants that I killed by accident. I am no gardener, so don't get mad at me if I do this wrong. You see how that potato plant is just perfectly healthy, and so is this one, but some of them are not happy, and it's because the plastic touched them. And unfortunately, a large part of this pumpkin, I hope that it does okay. I mean, there are still some happy leaves on it, so I think it might survive. But I had, for instance, this was one of the first pumpkins that started to show, and it's actually shrunk in size, and I think that's because there was so much damage. And then there was this one back here, and it's shrunk in size. But then I have had some new flowers and whatnot, and there are some more growing, so maybe these ones will be just fine. And I just got to cut back a bunch of these leaves that are dead. I hope that that's okay. Hope I don't do too much damage. And you know, otherwise, look at the Swiss chard back there is thriving, and a lot of the pumpkin up here is happy, and we'll just have to be careful not to let that happen in the future. I feel like I'm probably correct in assuming that by getting rid of this, we'll be wasting less energy, and the energy can go to the parts that are still alive and thriving. I just cut out, you know, most of the stuff that's pretty dead in this area here. I just got to do the same to the rest of the garden. That's everything I plan to cut out, so give you a pretty good idea how much of this stuff should do just fine and recover. The cold didn't bother the sage, arugula, spinach, carrots, Swiss chard at all. That should give you guys some sort of an idea what it's like to live out here on my homestead. Hopefully you liked the content. If you do, please subscribe. I noticed the other day we've got 60% of the people that watch are subscribed, which is actually higher than average, so that's good. And don't forget, if you want to win a signed book, I'm giving away 2 of them. Just comment below how you want me to sign it. You know, if it's to Joey and you want me to congratulate you on your new purchase of land, just put the comment down below, and I'll select one of those comments as a winner a week from today.